Hola, buenas, ¿se escucha? A ver si alguno de los que está por allí me puede confirmar si es que se escucha, que es importante. Hola, soy Jorge, por si no me conocen. Nada, estoy supliendo a Hugo, que tenía otros compromisos. No, Hugo me pidió simplemente de que le ayudase una vez más con una entrevista, una pequeña conversación de alguna manera, con una persona que es una amiga personal y que nos va a ayudar a entender un poco mejor el mundo de no solamente la coctelería, sino lo que sucede en el marketing, la comunicación, la estrategia, etcétera, que es Rebekkah Dooley. A ver si ahora podemos hacer para invitarla. Un momento solo, chicos. Vaya, si lo consigo. Becky!
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm in my house. It's a lovely day. It's going to be very hot today.
It's very hot here as well.
Is it?
It's a scorcher. Maybe not by your standards, but by London standards, yeah, it's absolutely boiling.
I know what you mean, but that's more than fine then. What you have planned to do today? Are you gotta go to work later, or you got a little time for yourself?
No, I'm not going to work on Saturday. Yeah, we're gonna go out and get some lunch in the sunshine.
Nice, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Becky, as you know, I'm gonna have to be sort of translating as we go, so the people that are following and listening to this, they get to catch up a little bit easier, right?
Cool.
So what I was saying to them is I'm doing a little introduction that, but very over the top, because I would like you to introduce yourself in just a few more minutes. So, para los amigos que estáis allí escuchando, lo que os comentaba antes es que Rebekkah Dooley, Becky para los amigos, es una persona que ha estado ligada de una u otra manera al mundo y a la industria de la coctelería y al mundo y a la industria de las bebidas, del bartending y de todo lo referente a lo que es hospitality, de una u otra manera durante muchos años. Entonces, yo personalmente tengo la suerte de considerarla una persona cercana y ahora vamos a arrancar un poco con nuestra entrevista. And very short, what I was saying to them is that I got the pleasure to know you for quite a few years now, and I know that you've always been one way or the other related to the bar industry, perhaps not on the most obvious senses, but no matter that, you've been close and relevant and also leading in some way or another in hospitality, in the industry of hospitality. And I think what we would like to do today is, dig a little deeper on that and just have an open conversation about, the questions that I sent you about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, loads of time to prep. Yeah, no, that sounds good.
Okay, so Becky, maybe let's start at the beginning. We would like to know a little bit about, how did you actually end up in this whole crazy world of hospitality?
I think like most people, kind of by accident. I'm from London. I was born here, from North London, Camden, which has a very big live music scene.
Yeah.
And I finished school. I didn't want to go to college or university, so I started working, and I started working in a friend's pub in Hoxton called the Macbeth. So I was a bartender when I first started. It's a live music venue. It's still open now, which is great because I must have worked there almost 20 years ago, maybe like 18 years ago. It's still there. It's still great. But I was pulling pints and making Jaeger bombs, a lot of Jaeger bombs. So it wasn't cocktail bartending. I think I might have made a mojito every now and then, but that was how it started.
Fantastic. And this is almost 18 years ago. Jager bombs, they were a thing. Yeah, for sure. They were a thing. They were a big thing in those days. Yeah, absolutely. Very short, I will translate. Le pregunto a Becky cuáles son sus inicios, en dónde comienza ella, no su carrera necesariamente, pero sí un poco su aventura con el mundo de hospitality. Becky nos cuenta de que ella es nacida y criada en Londres, específicamente la parte norte de Londres, más específico aún, la zona que se llama Camden o Camden Town, que es una zona que tiene y siempre ha tenido mucha relevancia con el mundo de la música en vivo. Muchos bares, pubs y sitios que tienen música en vivo desde siempre, ¿no? Y ella fue a trabajar en un principio, saliendo del colegio, sin haber ido a la universidad porque no era lo que quería, al pub de un amigo. What was the name of the pub again?
The Macbeth.
The Macbeth, right.
Macbeth.
Macbeth, que era un pub que tenía música en vivo y ella empezó trabajando de verdad detrás de la barra. Ahora, lo que preparaba detrás de la barra, alguna vez preparó un mojito, pero en general eran más pints de cerveza, probablemente. A lot of Guinness, I guess, you know, pints of lager, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then all the variations that you guys have in England as well on you know, things like snake bites and stuff like that. You know? There is a lot of
snake bites. That was also what I drank at the time. We all drank Jaeger bombs and snake bites. Yeah, that was our thing. You don't have those in Spain?
Two or three variations of, you know, what it would be just a regular pint of lager. There is one that is called the snake bite, that it takes, what was it now?
Oh, God. It's cider. I want to say it's like cider and blackcurrant, but I might be wrong. And then there's black velvet.
Which is cider. I remember that one, but I don't remember the name.
Yeah. Black velvet, which is, oh shit, is that Guinness and champagne, or is that Guinness and
black velvet
Guinness
is
and blackcurrant?
Correct.
Yeah. And like, oh, you know, you have shandies, you have a lager top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My wife used to drink all of those things as well. You know,
Yes.
I've been through that.
You've been through it and come through the other side?
Yeah, well, most times. Sometimes I didn't make it, but yes, most times.
Yeah.
Becky y yo hablábamos de que en los pubs existe una cultura, además de que no solamente se sirve una pinta de cerveza o un vaso de cerveza, sino que existe mucho de que lo que es mezclar también. Existen cosas como el snake bites o lager top. Hay diferentes fórmulas que son muy fáciles, como por ejemplo lager o cerveza clara, que la completas con algo de sidra, o que le echas un top de blackcurrant, o por ejemplo champagne con un poco de Guinness, que se conoce como el Black Velvet. Hay una serie de combinaciones. Maybe there is a thing to it, you know, maybe the whole thing that, you know, England is the way I see it, you know, it's always been kind of leading in the whole mixology. I don't like that word, but you know what I mean. You know, mixability sort of area. Maybe it's got to do with the fact that, you know, people is used to mixing things. You know, the lagers and tops and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, for having lived in the US, their cocktail culture over there is very much about their neighborhood bars, and they drink more like spirit mixers and cocktails and things like Manhattans and old fashions. Whereas I think in the UK, this all started around pubs and convivial drinking, community drinking, and it'd be quite unusual to walk into a pub and order a martini. But you know, in the US, in New York at least, when you go into a local neighborhood bar, it's not uncommon to do that. So yeah, it's completely different styles of drinking.
I remember, I mean, nowadays you can go to any pub and you can order, for example, in England, and you can order a cosmopolitan. Whether if it's going to be a great cosmopolitan or not, that's a different thing. But you can get certain drinks. They are, you know, embedded in the local culture of, you know, a pub must have, you know, certain cocktails or a number of cocktails, I think. But I remember years ago, I think it was one of the first times that I went to Newcastle to visit the family of my wife. And, you know, I was a little bit nervous because particularly I thought that, you know, I'm not going to be able to understand a word that they were saying with the very harsh accent that they have, which it was true. But they took me down the tune, as they said, you know, and we went out for drinks. Yes. So we went out for drinks. And because I was very much, you know, living my era of, you know, bartending and everything it was about, you know, drinking, you know, the most classic cocktails and all that kind of thing. The first pub that we went to, I ordered a martini. And everybody turned their heads and they looked at me like out of my mind. Like, how the hell could I be ordering a martini? What kind of a person was, you know, Gemma, my wife, you know, marrying into, you know, or this crazy guy ordering a martini? How can I not order, you know, a Stella Artois or, I don't know, a Newcastle Brown Ale, you know, something like that. Yeah. Años atrás hablábamos un poco con Becky de probablemente la cultura que existe en Inglaterra y en comparativa también con Estados Unidos, con referencia a lo que es el mundo del cóctel. En Inglaterra siempre se derivó de lo que es el mundo del pub. El pub es el concepto de lo que sería el bar local, donde la gente se junta a comulgar de alguna manera, a beber y a comer muchas veces. Es un sitio de alivio, es un sitio de encuentro, ¿no? En un pub, normalmente la bebida que tú consumirías era más una bebida simple, como pueden ser las cervezas y las variaciones de la cerveza, cuando en Estados Unidos, por ejemplo, el consumo en un local bar es más relacionado con el mundo del cóctel, no necesariamente el cóctel de autor, pero sí cócteles más clásicos, como pueden ser un Old Fashion o puede ser un Manhattan, perfectamente, y el hecho de que está más integrado dentro de su cultura. Yo le comentaba a Becky como una pequeña anécdota de que años atrás me tocó, en el momento que vivía más el bartending, cuando vivía en Londres, fui a la ciudad, pueblo de mi mujer, en Newcastle, en el norte, y que pedí un dry martini, y que dentro del pub todo el mundo me miró como si estuviera un poco loco. Becky, but I remember that you mentioned one time, I don't know, maybe a conversation, late night, or maybe it was a presentation, that you kind of started falling in love with this side of the hospitality when you kind of got into Milk and Honey London. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I worked at a few different places like pubs and then live music venues, and then I started working at Milk and Honey. I just got the job randomly. I applied online, and I thought they were all really weird, the bartenders, because they all hung out together. They did exams. They came to work and then they went out after work and hung out, and they read cocktail books, and I'd never encountered that before. And when I got to work, I just wanted to do my job and get out. I didn't want to stand around and talk about drinks or guests or service. So I thought it was really strange. I was probably there for a little over a year, and then I left. I just went somewhere that paid more money, and it turned out the bar that I went to was kind of like a crap bar. And it was only then that I had this penny drop moment where it was like, oh, Milk and Honey was a really good bar. Like, I had no idea at that point like what Milk and Honey was. I was just there to get paid. Sure. Yeah, and I missed it when I left. I was like at this new bar, and I was like, this is crap. They're doing everything wrong. Like, why is it not the same as Milk and Honey? And then I guess that's when I was like, okay, it's different. Yeah, and that's when I became more interested in it.
What did you exactly do? What did you have to do in Milk and Honey? Did you actually have to bartend as well for a little bit?
No, no. I was the host, so I was just greeting guests and managing reservations. And you know, in Milk and Honey, there's the 3 different floors, and then you have a private event space as well. So it was really just greeting guests and calling up the bars and being like, sending a table of 2 up. That was that. And then when I left, it was to go somewhere as a like reservations and events manager. So it was like a climb up.
Milk and Honey, what year are we talking? When was it?
So I was 21, so it was 13 years ago. So what's 2000? I don't know, I can't do the maths.
I got it, more or less. Right. Mira, lo que nos cuenta Becky es que realmente su principio o el momento de que realmente ella se encuentra con esta hospitality, pero del lado de lo que tiene que ver con lo que nosotros entendemos un poco como bartenders y la parte más nerd de los bartenders tal vez, es porque ella de manera casi casual o circunstancial pidió trabajo en un sitio que se llamaba Milk and Honey, que para muchos de vosotros será referencia, pero ella no sabía realmente qué era este Milk and Honey. Era un sitio que era un club privado, abierto al público a ciertas horas también, donde los estándares de calidad, el tipo de exámenes que se le hacían a los bartenders y el nivel de nerd que tenían los propios bartenders era mucho más elevado. Becky me contaba de que ella le llamaba la atención estos bartenders iban vestidos de bartenders, leyendo libros de bartender, hablando de spirits, de cocktails, de cosas de bartender, y que encima cuando terminaban de trabajar se iban a otro sitio a continuar haciendo lo mismo, y que a ella le llamaba la atención. I really like that part of the story where you're saying that, you know, these guys were all weird, you know, like weirdos, like nerds, you know, like they were all dressed as bartenders, you know, drinking bartending stuff, you know, talking about bartending stuff, and then continuing on. But what I remember of the people that I knew that they worked in Milk and Honey, and I know that you didn't work in the bar specifically, but I'm sure that you lived that part as well, or seen that part. Mm-hmm. The level of qualification, that how they trained their people, how they did like sort of exams, and they even had a system, if I remember correctly, where you can get like £1 more every XYZ time if you pass, you know, a number of different tests and exams and stuff like that. Was it like really that tough for the guys? Like really that, you know, strict as well?
Was I that strict?
No, not you.
But yeah, no, it was really strict for them. Yeah, they had to come in and do their exams. And I have the Excel document of the questions. It was sent to me quite recently by someone I used to work with. Yeah, they had to pass the exams. I think if they didn't pass, you could be fired. And if you did pass, yeah, your pay would be increased. But they had different level of exams depending on what your position was. But the questions were quite good because they weren't just about, I don't know, how Jerry Thomas made whatever. It would be like, what year was Coca-Cola invented, or what's the sugar content in Bailey's, or, you know, like actually, they're actually quite interesting questions. Very geeky.
Nice. You can share that document at some point, or is it something very like?
Yeah, I can share it. We've actually used it. We used it to do the quizzes on Discard.
Right.
So we took some of the questions, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I can share it. I might have to ask.
Right. Okay. Nada, le preguntaba a Becky con respecto a Milk and Honey. Me he detenido aquí un momento porque creo que es algo interesante. Es un sitio que es muy valorado a nivel internacional como una de las catedrales de la coctelería, tal vez. Se hablaba mucho de que Milk and Honey tenían un sistema de training y un sistema de exámenes en donde cada X cantidad de tiempo se ponía bajo test a las personas que trabajaban allí para revisar su nivel de conocimiento. Se les forzaba y se les exigía mucho, y además si pasaban el examen con un grado de superior, significaba que podían optar a ganar un mejor sueldo, pero si no pasaban el examen, podían incluso llegar al punto de ser expulsados de la compañía por no haber estudiado lo suficiente. Becky me comentaba de que hace poco tiempo, hace un par de semanas, recibió el documento Excel donde están todas esas preguntas que se hacían de exámenes, y que es un documento que además va a compartir conmigo, por lo cual eventualmente podré compartirlo con vosotros si os interesa. Creo que lo interesante de todo esto es entender de que el nivel de cuestionamientos que existían allí eran mucho más allá de lo obvio de cómo se hace un cóctel o otro, sino que niveles de contención de azúcar dentro de un Baileys, o cuándo fue el año de la creación de la Coca-Cola, cosas que tal vez son muy geeky o nerdy. Becky, what's the best drink you can make?
The best drink I can make? So I don't really make drinks. If we're at home, I'm most likely to just make a vodka soda. I can make like a margarita or an espresso martini or a martini, but at home my boyfriend makes drinks for us if we're drinking. I'm definitely not a skilled bartender.
But I'm pretty sure that you can get around, you know, like if, for example, if you are, you know, the boyfriend is not around, it's just a couple of friends that maybe they are not industry related, you know, you already mentioned, you know, you can make an espresso martini, you can make a martini per se, you can make a margarita. Well, there is a party there already, you know, you have 3 options. It's almost a small menu.
It's true, but I mean, you know, everywhere now you can buy pre-made cocktails and just have them in your fridge, so it's easy.
That's one of the things that I want to talk about in just a minute. About the thing. Le preguntaba a Becky qué cóctel puede hacer ella o cuál es su mejor drink. Ella me dice que, bueno, que en casa las veces que se bebe algo tranquila, le gusta disfrutar de algo muy sencillo como puede ser incluso un vodka and soda, porque lo encuentra muy refrescante, incluso hidratante de alguna manera. Que su novio muchas veces es quien se hace cargo porque es un bartender también. can I mention who is the boyfriend so people understand? Is that okay?
Sure, yeah, that's fine.
Ok, que su novio se llama Noel, es uno de los hermanos Benning, que son los creadores de una serie de bares que hay en Londres, que ahora hablaremos también. Es el que se encarga un poco de la parte de los cócteles. Pero Becky me decía de que ella puede hacer sin ningún problema, desde un espresso martini a una margarita, a un martini como tal, por lo cual creo que hay suficiente. Becky mencionaba de que hay una tendencia actual en donde hay mucha gente que puede comprar directamente un cóctel de alta calidad de su mejor bartender o de su mejor bar y que puede llegar a casa, que es algo de lo que quería hablar dentro de un momento. Now, Becky, I think for obvious reasons, and it's got to do with your career and your choices that you have made throughout your career, many people relate you or your persona to the world of creativity, marketing, and even design. Now, I always had this question more on a personal level. Have you ever studied any of those things? Like, did you ever went to study marketing or design or anything like that?
No, I didn't study. I didn't study any of those things. When I was in school, I studied graphic design up until I left school at 16. So no further education. No, it's just kind of something that happened. And I think that's really important because I think a lot of people get scared off by certain careers because they think you have to be qualified, and it's not always the case.
It's not necessarily true. I agree with you. But you went bit by bit, or either because, the opportunity was presented to you, or you looked for the opportunity, or you took the right choices, or maybe the wrong choices, who knows. But you were nonetheless very much part of, a number of places and projects, and particularly menus as well. I think people recognize you for the whole era of, the menu designs and menu concepts of Coctelería, I should say. Did they just give you, like, you got this project and you got to get on with it? Or did you actually raise your hand and you went like, I got an idea and maybe I can help with this? Because if you were not qualified, don't get me wrong, qualified in the sense that, you came with your CV saying, I study marketing and design and this and the other, it's likely to be that, those projects, they just were at your table in some point and you said, well, sure, I'm going to go for it. So how did it happen?
Yeah, it happened slowly. So I started there just as a reservations manager, and then I took on the events. So it was reservation and events. And then this is like a long time ago. So no one was using Twitter or Facebook. Instagram wasn't a thing. So I said, can I start doing this? So I started doing social media. And then I met a lot of media, or a lot of journalists and writers when I was doing the events. So I slowly became the PR manager. So they had a PR company at the time. And I said, actually, I think I'd like to have a go at this. So I took that over. And then they were also paying an external design company to do the menus. And yeah, I just said, I'd like to give it a go. And they were like, okay, have a go. And yeah, that's how it started. So I went from reservations manager to like events marketing and PR manager, and then was designing the menus as well, also like working on the websites and working with brands on events, and yeah, all sorts of stuff. So it's stuff, but I was there for 5 years, so it wasn't like a quick process.
No, for sure. Let me quickly translate. Le preguntaba a Becky un poco de la relación que ella tiene con el mundo de la creatividad, el marketing y el diseño, porque hay mucha gente que relaciona su carrera profesional o lo que ella ha hecho justamente con estas tres áreas. Entonces, casi a nivel personal, le preguntaba si ella había estudiado alguna de estas carreras. Me dijo que realmente no, que tal vez en la escuela primaria y secundaria había tenido una aproximación a lo que era el mundo del diseño, pero no lo había estudiado como una carrera profesional. Becky me decía, o habla un poco de que hay veces de que las oportunidades o bien se presentan delante tuyo y las coges o tú vas y haces algunas decisiones que te llevan a poder desarrollarte en un área específica o no. dentro de los muchos lugares donde Becky pasó o trabajó en su carrera profesional, ella pasó por un sitio que se llama aún Coctelería, un sitio bastante reconocido, donde ella realmente estaba un poco con una función que era más similar a lo que tenía Milk and Honey, que tenía que ver más con el mundo de las reservas, la organización, una parte administrativa, y que aunque Coctelería tenía su propia compañía de diseños de menú y una propia compañía de PR, de Public Relations, que era una compañía externa pagada, ella comenzó a ver una oportunidad donde ella se sentía lo suficientemente confidente como para poder, segura de sí misma, como para poder darle una intentada, ¿no? Entonces ella cogió algunos de estos proyectos y empezó a desarrollarse. Conoció a mucha gente del sector que eran escritores, trabajó con muchas marcas que necesitaban este tipo de visualización y encima en aquel entonces era el momento donde redes sociales empezaban realmente a eclosionar. Antes de esto no existían. That was kind of a little eureka moment, I suppose, not only for you, but, for everybody. And I remember perfectly, those years when, social media wasn't a thing. Before that, you have very limited or very, different, I should say, ways of communicating with, with your possible consumers, with your guests, even with other bartenders. It was much more pinpointed things that you can do, cannot do. But one thing that I remember clearly, Becky, that besides the way that you did or you manage or that you helped managing the whole social media, I remember clearly one thing, which was the newsletter of Coctelería. That to me was fantastic. And I'm never going to forget that. And I got to say, even today, I use it in different projects in a way or another, which is the tone. Many of the newsletters that I used to receive at the time from brands, bars, or other corporations or other things, they were so not personal. They were like, third person, very distant, very cold, very fact orientated, like tomorrow this is happening at this time, come and join us. That's it. It was very cold. And then I think it was you or you and your team, I should say, I don't know, maybe you were your own team, yes. That you started using a tone that it was much more like Coctelería was talking to you. Coctelería was an entity sort of thing, and it was a first person. It wasn't like come to the bar and have a mojito of strawberries. It was more like, things that they were happening at the bar, like, hey, guys, somebody stole the bloody gnome, and we need to find it, and, we need your help, and this is going on. And by the way, come and try the new menu because it's all about this and the other. And I remember that at the time when I started reading it, and you and I, we have met a few times, but we weren't that close or we didn't know each other that well. It struck me like something quite unique, like, a newsletter that it was talking to me, a bar that it was actually talking to me. I never seen that before, and I seen it now in numerous places, publications, brands, and bars. I use it at my bar. I know that many brands use it, as their communication kind of standard, to do that. And I don't know if you were the first one or not, but for sure you were one of the first ones that at least I got that level of information or that tone of information. And I really like it. And I want to congratulate you for that, because I think it was very kind of a before that and after that sort of moment. And how did it work for you? Did that turn into a little success as well for the bar, when you start taking over in that level, the newsletter plus the social media and etc.?
Yeah, I think it worked well. And I think one of the most important things with marketing and communication when you're representing a brand or a bar or a person is to be consistent. So that tone of voice was used in the social media and the newsletter and the menus and the website and anything that we printed in-house. So it was building a consistent communication style and tone of voice and personality for Coctelería. And I think actually oftentimes people do overthink their tone of voice, and it can come across as feeling inauthentic if it's been overworked. And I think a lot of people, maybe if I had been trained to a high level in marketing, I would have overthought it and created something that felt more forced and curated rather than something quite organic. But I think especially as social media started becoming more commonplace, and this was when it was all Twitter led, So everything was, I think at the time it was 120 characters.
Yeah, I remember that.
It really changed people's communication style. And I think it did become about being personal and making connections and being like almost like a friend, like someone that you would, you know, want to talk to rather than someone that you interact with rather than someone that you just observe.
That's great. I really agree with you. And I also think that, you know, sometimes not having perhaps, you know, the university knowledge or, you know, the college knowledge, you know, in a certain subject, it can be actually a positive thing. You know, it makes you a little bit more ingenious in the good sense of being ingenious, you know, like more, I don't know. It's easier to get astonished by something and to go, oh, wow, you know, and then you are easier to move that forward to somebody else, you know, and say, this really strike me, or, you know, I'm sharing things with you. And I think that was very important. Before I move to translating this part, I want you to think for just a second, one or two of the menus that you think that they were very dear to you. I know that these questions has been 100 times, you know, placed to you. Muy rápido, voy a traducir un poco de esta parte de la conversación que a mí personalmente me parece muy relevante, muy interesante, que es un poco el hecho de que Rebekkah no estudió ninguna de estas cosas de comunicación, ni de diseño, ni tampoco de marketing como tal, pero sin embargo se fue haciendo una carrera profesional, sin lugar a dudas, dentro de Coctelería, en donde ella se encargaba de todo lo que tenía que ver con la comunicación, al punto de que para mí personalmente hubo un momento, un antes, que era cuando yo recibía la newsletter de Coctelería, que era una newsletter muy personal. Era una newsletter que no me hablaba en tercera persona de, hola, soy un bar y te invito a que vengas a tomarte 2 mojitos por el precio de uno, sino que era un bar que me hablaba como si fuera una persona. Coctelería me invitaba a ver y ser parte de lo que sucedía allí cada noche. Me contaba historias, me decía de que había una ponchera que era un gnomo, que se la habían robado, o que el nuevo menú estaba en proceso y que teníamos que probarlo en conjunto, y me invitaba como si fuese una persona. Becky hacía un poco de hincapié en todo esto, explicando de que en aquel entonces, bueno, había un nuevo sistema lingüístico casi de comunicación que tenía que ver con las redes sociales, en donde muchas de ellas, como por ejemplo en Twitter, estaba coartado por la cantidad de caracteres que podías utilizar. El hecho de solamente poder utilizar 120 caracteres a la vez necesitaba de que tú fueras mucho más directo, pero al mismo tiempo personal, honesto e incluso ingenuo en tu nivel de comunicación. También Becky ha apuntado una cosa que me parece también interesante, que es que muchas veces el hecho de tener los estudios tan pragmáticos, tan especializados y específicos en términos de marketing y comunicación, hacen de que tu tono de voz que utilices no sea tan personal, sino que sea overthinking, sea como demasiado pensado. Cuando lo piensas demasiado, se vuelve un poco más plástico. No tiene la sustancia de poder comunicar lo que tú quisieras. Yeah, I think hopefully I remember the things that you and I were talking, because sometimes I can go away my little word.
That's okay, that's okay.
We were asking you, sorry, about the one or two of the menus that they were more dear to you, either because, you know, you felt that you were more part of them, or maybe because even, you know, they become more successful or more recognized, more of iconic, if we might.
Yeah, so my favorite all-time Coctelería menu that I worked on is the tube map menu. Sorry, not the tube map, the Oyster card. And the cassette tape, which those were the two menus the year that we won World's Best Cocktail Menu. They don't tell you specifically, at the time, they didn't tell you specifically which menu it was for. And we were changing our menu twice a year at that time. Eventually, some years we would change it 3 or 4 times, but that year that we won, those were the 2 menus that we had released within that time frame, the Oyster card and the cassette tape. I still think that they stand up really well. I think at the time it was kind of in style to do these interactive menus that were a bit kind of different or playful. And I think that's not as cool now. People are a bit more serious. But I think if I saw that menu in a bar now, I would still think it was cool, which is great because it was 10 years ago almost. Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah. I think I still got a copy of the not the actual menu, but the Oyster card holster that it says cocktails instead of saying oyster. Got it somewhere.
Yeah.
Every time that I used to go to London, I would go to Coctelería, and whether if it was you, Sean Ware, Andrea, or whoever who was at the Coctelería, I would go and say, please, can I have, 3 or 4 of these? I need them, and I will just keep a lot of them. I will always try to. One other thing that I remember very dearly about that time in Coctelería, it was that, for the obvious reasons, it was lots of people, perhaps they didn't even live in London, that they were like, oh, wow, this menu is fantastic, and not, maybe not in all of them, but in quite a few of them. I remember that at the very bottom of the menu, at the very end of the menu, it will say, if you like this menu, please ask us for a copy. And I thought that was cool. That was cool. You remember I used to take, a bunch of Spaniard people, like 10 people at the time and all that. And I will catch some of them, sometimes going like this, trying to pinch a menu, and I go.
And you say you're allowed to take it. That was one of my favorite things, actually. That was like a light bulb moment. So the Oyster card menu said on it, please take me home. And we thought it was really clever because people were taking that menu because it had a purpose in the real world. They used it for their Oyster cards, for their travel cards. They would be advertising Coctelería in their day-to-day life by taking that piece of marketing outside of the building. So it was like a two-pronged marketing approach. It looked great in the venue. It also got a lot of press. The Telegraph ran an article just on that menu, on the design of it. So really, it was a PR tool, it was a marketing tool, and a marketing tool has been an incredible success when it leaves your venue. So when it exists in the real world outside of where it was created, you've done something good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I'll translate this very quickly. Le preguntábamos a Becky, esta pregunta es recurrente, que cuál era uno o dos de los menús en el tiempo aquel de el pic de creatividad que existía dentro del equipo de Coctelería, y ella me dice que recuerda en particular con mucho cariño 2 menús. Uno era el de el Tube Map, que bueno, era básicamente cuando vas a Londres, tú tienes que comprar una tarjeta que se llama Oyster Card, que viene dentro. I have it. You have it there?
It would take me a minute to get it.
Maybe while I'm translating, if you can try to get it, because it's super cool to show it, if you don't mind. Becky fue a buscar ahora el menú para enseñárnoslo porque creo que es súper interesante. En aquel momento, cuando tú ibas a Londres, te comprabas una tarjeta, que era la tarjeta del metro, que se llama Oyster, que venía en una pequeña cartera. You got it. Looking for it. Oh, ahí está. That is it. And you actually have the menu inside? No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Please show it. Esto era el equivalente al menú. Era el mapa de Londres, pero que aquí lo que tenías eran los cócteles de ese menú en particular. Encima servía un propósito gigante. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Servía un propósito fuera, por lo cual servía un propósito que tenía que ver con PR y tenía, porque la gente al final utilizaba esa pequeña cartera para llevar su tarjeta de la Oyster o su tarjeta de banco o las 3 o 4 tarjetas que tenían que llevar. Esto es muy típico de la gente que vive en Londres, de utilizar la card holster como una especie de pequeña cartera. Y la suya era que decía cocktails en vez de decir Oyster. Y esto fue un exitazo, pero rotundo y tremendo. Mucha gente, incluido yo, cada vez que iba a Londres pedíamos esta pequeña cartera, pedíamos una copia de esto para llevarlo como un recuerdo y utilizarlo además, no solamente un recuerdo para ser guardado. Hay otro segundo menú que era el menú que se llamaba was it the cassette tape or the menu? Yes, ¿no?
Yeah, cassette tape.
Un cassette, para los que no son millennials, el cassette era el aparato pequeño donde venía grabada la música, donde normalmente tú extendías, doblabas una serie. Oh, you're not going to tell me that you have that one as well, are you?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Esto era lo que venía dentro de una caja de cassette y allí venían exactamente todos los cócteles especificados para comprar hace años atrás, y te tenías que aprender, o podías aprender las letras. Really, so I was just thinking as I was trying to translate and explain, you know, that maybe some people that they are listening or that they will see, you know, this little interview, you know, they have no fucking idea what a tape is, you know, they're not gonna...
Yeah, I heard you say the word millennials. I was like, oh.
Yeah, yes. You know, because for me it's so natural. Oh, you remember a cassette tape? Yeah, of course I do remember a cassette tape, but not everybody does it. And when I'm saying like, oh, because it was very typical that when you bought a cassette tape, you know, you unfold the little piece of paper and you have the lyrics, you know, and you will be able to, you know, either, you know, learn them or repeat them or whatever. That's typical, but that's typical for me. It's not typical for everybody, you know.
It won't be typical for your daughters when they grow up. You'll have to show them relics.
Yeah, I have to take them to a little museum of my stuff, you know, and show them, oh, that is all stuff got somewhere. Yeah. Thank you for that, Becky. Becky, moving on a little bit, you did spend a couple of years, if not more, living and working in the US in a very well-known place. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience there? Be as honest as you can, things that they were to you like, yeah, this is great, and things that they were like, this is not my jam, kind of thing.
Okay. I worked in New York for 3 years at the Dead Rabbit, which was a long-held kind of target of mine. It's something I really wanted to do, and I worked towards it for a long time, actually. I kind of orchestrated events in London with Sean and Jack and Gillian to work towards making that happen. And I had a great time in New York. I love New York as a city. I made so many great friends. I think it's really beautiful there. It's so nice being really close to the water, and the seasons are so defined. It's not like here in the UK where it's grey 99% of the time. But yeah, it wasn't easy. It was an incredibly high pressured environment where you were expected to, you know, work was always your highest priority. And that's fine because I went there to work, but it wasn't sustainable for me long term, which is why I came back. I was there on a 3-year visa, which I could have extended. And, you know, Dead Rabbit are opening their second venue in New Orleans. They always have so many things going on. I think at the time that I worked there, we published 2 books, and I know now they have 2 more on the way. I learned a lot. I got to travel a lot. I came back to London quite a lot to do events here in London. And we spent 2 months traveling Ireland. We went to over 100 pubs in Ireland.
Yeah. I remember. And what was your position or or what you were expected to manage or do exactly in the whole operation of Dead Rabbit?
Yeah, so it's marketing and events director.
Right.
So I worked very closely with Sean predominantly because he tends to do more of the creative and Jack does more operational. But it was events, and there would be events in Russia or Mexico or Paris or New Orleans or London, and then also working on the special projects, so project managing the book From Barley to Blarney, which is about pubs and distilleries in Ireland, and then just things like website, press events. But really it's about, similar to Coctelería, so it was about the communication, so consistent, cohesive, engaging communication across all platforms.
And you said these were almost 3 years or years, something like that, is that correct?
3 years, yeah.
Right. I'll translate now. Le preguntaba un poco a Becky su paso por Estados Unidos. Ella, después de un poco esta carrera profesional que ya habíamos hablado, que habíamos acabado un poco en el área de lo que tenía que ver con Coctelería, los diseños de menú, etcétera, donde en Coctelería llegaron también a un cierto pic. Ellos ganaron 2 años seguidos, si no recuerdo mal, mejor menú o mejor diseño de menú entre Cóctel, que es como una de las eventos más importantes a nivel internacional de reconocimiento del mundo del bartender. Ella dice que, bueno, fue orquestando de alguna manera porque tenía como un objetivo trabajar con la gente de Dead Rabbit en Nueva York, que son mayoritariamente, son varios dueños, pero hay 2 personas que lideran un poco todo esto. Y finalmente consiguió la posibilidad, consiguió la visa, era una visa de 3 años que podría haber sido extendida. Dice que el nivel de presión, la expectación o lo que se espera un poco de una persona que trabaja en ese ambiente, en un sitio como Estados Unidos, particularmente en Nueva York, el nivel de presión es absolutamente demandante y es brutal. O sea, se espera de que tu prioridad sea el trabajo el 100% del tiempo. Y esto también podía matar de alguna manera un poco el espíritu jovial también de trabajar dentro del mundo del bar. Will you say, I might be taking here a step too further, but would you say that, you know, when working under an environment, I'm not necessarily talking about just Dead Rabbit, I'm talking about more in a general base. When you work in an environment that it becomes, you know, too pressurized, where, you know, work and, you know, delivering projects is the #1 priority at all times. That part that all of us, we fall in love, or we have fell in love with hospitality, which is a jovial thing. It's something about, you know, having fun, because we're not working in an industry of, you know, producing cardboard, or I don't know, mining, or, you know, doing Excels or stuff like that. You know, we work in this industry because we love this industry. We love what this industry represents. Will you say that there is a tipping point, there is a climax, there is a point that you go, this is just pure pressure, you know, it's killing, you know, the joy of it, it's killing the ride, it's killing, you know, even the creativity perhaps, because it's just the pressure of delivering objectives. Will you agree to an extent with that?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think especially if we say post-pandemic, although it seems like we're still in the midst of it, I don't know what it was like for you in Spain, but here in London, we were on lockdown for a long time. And I think it gave people the opportunity to readdress and rethink what they want to do and how much of their life they want to give to their employers. Whether they have hobbies they want to do, like for Gareth and I, that was discard. And I think there are other changes that I have made in my life as a result of that. So I think people are going to be changing their work-life balance and their priorities going forward.
I hope so. I just hope that, you know, we are not, again, all of us, you know, getting very easily, you know, the things that we have learned throughout, you know, this time of pandemic and recess, you know, for having the opportunity to rethink and reprioritize, like you were saying. And I think you define it very well, you know, the balance between work and life, you know, it's got to be a balance there. You know, it cannot be, it shouldn't be neither of the two, just one thing. I think, you know, it's good to work. You know, I feel proud I take pride in what I do and I enjoy what I do. But I think it's got to have a little bit of both, you know, and perhaps it's my childish nature in a personal level, but I need to have fun in the things that I do. You know, to me, that is a very important priority, that if I'm not having fun, if I'm not getting a laugh out of it one way or the other, why the fuck am I doing this? You know, when did I sign up for not having fun? You know, I don't know if you know what I mean with that.
Yeah, I do. But I've had like very similar conversations, pretty much exactly the same as that. And I always tend to apologize as well for like, oh, maybe I'm just being childish, but I don't want to do this, so I'm not going to do it. And that, you know, can sound childish or like privileged even, which it's a privilege to be able to say that. But I think especially when you've been working in hospitality for a long time, if you are able to say, I don't want to do the things that I don't want to do, and I don't have to do the things that I don't want to do, then we should always be having fun and enjoying what we do, and we shouldn't have to make exceptions. And you know, that feeling of going to work and hating it is the worst thing ever.
It's the worst thing. Yes, I know what you mean. I'm going to translate. Hablábamos un poco con Becky, nos íbamos un poco más al detalle de todo esto. Este ambiente tan presurizado, tan lleno de presión, de exacerbadas demandas muchas veces de llegar a los objetivos, de desarrollar proyectos, de cumplir con los tiempos, puede ser también una cosa que esté fuera de balance entre lo que es la vida y el trabajo. Becky y yo estábamos muy de acuerdo en una conversación que tiene que ver con quienes hemos trabajado durante mucho tiempo en el mundo de la hospitalidad. Uno de los factores por por los cuales, sin lugar a dudas, nos hemos enamorado de este sector o de esta industria o de la gente que trabaja y vive en esta industria, es porque es una industria divertida. Es una industria de ocio, es una industria que al final invita a pasártelo bien o a extrapolarte de lo que es el mundo normal. Si eso se transforma en lo opuesto de lo que acabamos de definir, finalmente lo que tienes es un trabajo que es un sufrimiento, que no quieres pertenecer y que no te apetece. Y si no te apetece, creo que cada persona debería tener el nivel profesional para poder decidir de cuándo dejar de hacerlo o moverse a otro proyecto y a otra compañía. Thanks for that. I really, I'm enjoying the conversation with you, Becky, and I think we think alike in many.
Yeah.
I think you kind of already answered the next question that I have, because I was asking you, like, I wanted to ask you about, where are you two cents in the near future of the industry? I think you were mentioning already, about, this work and life sort of balance or rethinking. Is it anything else? Do you think anything else like more practical in terms of, maybe things that you go, this is not going to fly anymore, or, these stupid drinks are, they're not going to happen anymore, or they shouldn't at least, or things that they're going to drop out of the equation, or new things? Do you have any takes on that?
Yeah, I can tell you in London, and I think we kind of touched on this before, but post-lockdown, everyone wants to have fun. And I'm seeing at the moment a lot, Nomad just opened in London, and even, not new bars, existing bars, but creating fun, engaging, interactive serves that aren't highbrow, aren't dark and stirred down, but like fun, cool drinks. I think people now want to let loose a bit more. And I think also people are looking to feel connected with their community, engage, have authentic interactions. So I think we'll see away with any kind of pomposity or formality. Although, luxury has its place. People, if you haven't been to Claridge's and had a glass of champagne or a martini in a long time, that luxury and that opulence, I think people have really missed. But I think it's all going to come down to having fun.
But I also think that, and I look at maybe from my perspective, it's more focused now in Spain for the obvious reasons. But I think for a long time, we as an industry, we were aiming for over complex serves. And I'm not talking only about, the actual vessel, or the decoration or the garnishes. I'm talking about, sometimes, the ingredients, the gastronomical techniques that we use behind them, and they were like, everything, it was a twist of a twist, and it was an impossible ingredient that you needed to get. And it was, almost impossible to replicate certain drinks. Where I see that now, people are enjoying, their, cool 80s sort of drinks, as long as they are well served, as long as it's in a place where they are having fun, they're happy to have a daiquiri. There's nothing wrong with the margarita, and that be a clarified, ultra twisted centrifuge, vacuum clean packed margarita. It can be also a margarita of, 3 different elements put into a shaker and strain if you like it, or on the rocks. I don't know. I think that more and more those kind of bars, and don't get me wrong, I think experimentation and innovation is both good and necessary, right? But
yeah.
I think we need to chill the fuck out as well. We need to calm down. It's like I feel that sometimes bartending, have become an excessive amount of ego having to show, how complex things can get. And I think you very well said it. After pandemic, hopefully this fucking thing will finish sometime soon. People just want to have fun, like the song of I don't know if it was Cyndi Lauper or something like that, but people just want to have fun. People want to relate to each other. They want to go and say, yeah, I'm having a drink in a place near to my friends, and I can hug them and I can say cheers and salute, something like that. Hopefully it'll be that. Yeah. Maybe I'm being a little bit nostalgic in a way, or too optimistic. I don't know. I'll translate this. Le preguntaba a Becky un poco de ¿qué va a suceder? ¿No? Ella no tiene una bola de cristal ni tampoco puede ver el futuro, pero ¿qué siente ella de que van a ser los cambios importantes y relevantes dentro del mundo de hospitality y el mundo de la coctelería también? Ella ya había mencionado algunos elementos, bueno, siendo uno de ellos la relación entre el mundo del trabajo y el mundo de lo que es tu vida. Tu vida y el trabajo no tienen por qué estar disasociados y no tiene que vivir todo dentro de uno ni todo dentro del otro. Pero también hablábamos un poco y estábamos muy de acuerdo en la necesidad de que tiene la gente ahora de volver a conectar con cosas que sean relevantes, que tengan sentido, que tengan significación, que pueden ser tan sencillas como beber una copa, tan sencilla como puede ser una margarita, un daiquiri, una piña colada, que tal vez se consideran un poco baratos o un poco 80s, un poco ochenteros, pero que sin embargo en la simplicidad de un cóctel bien ejecutado también hay una belleza, y que más allá de que la innovación es necesaria, tal vez todo este mundo de todo el mundo haciendo clarificados, centrifugados, rotobabs, técnicas gastronómicas y culinarias, o incluso fermentaciones de todo tipo, también tiene que relajarse un poco, incluido también la parte del diseño de lo que es, bueno, desde los vasos a todo lo demás. I give you a clear example of here in Spain, there is I consider an artist, it's called José Miguel Piñero. I'll send you a link, very interesting guy. He defines himself from years ago as being the maker of the dream maker for chefs, right? So when chefs, Michelin star chefs and whatnot, they had an idea like, oh, I want a plate that resembles, an open heart. You will eat from an open heart and it's very unique, and it's blah, 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 blah. He was capable working mostly with this epoxy, like the resin sort of thing, make anything that you can think of. Like, I give you an example right now. I asked him to do a representation of a semi-cut agave,
that's really cool.
And, to use it as a small sort of punch bowl or a bottle glorifier, whatever it was. And he was like, yeah, sure. And he just, quickly draw it in a piece of paper for me, and a couple of weeks after, he was able to produce it. This is great, and this is very cool, but I know quite a few bars, more and more bars, that they're spending thousand upon thousand on having everything instead of glassware. Everything is this ultimate design, and every serve, it comes on this. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's wrong. I think there is a place and there is a space and there is people for everything. Okay, and those places, they should live, but I think that not everybody should go towards that. I think sometimes bartenders, especially new generations, they get a little bit like, I don't know, they see these bright lights and they go, oh, I gotta go there, I gotta do the same, I gotta reinvent something that hasn't been reinvented because it's my... I don't think so. I also enjoy, and don't get me wrong, I send this to be produced, so I'm part of that as well, right? But I also enjoy a margarita in just a glass like this, and I'm okay, to have 2 pieces of ice and have a margarita there, So
yeah, I think. Go on.
No, that.
I think things like this happen in phases. If you remember Gareth when he was at Blind Pig, all the kind of crazy inventive serves that they did there, and it's great. It makes things fun. People love taking pictures of them and putting them on Instagram. But yeah, me personally, I like to drink out of a glass, but I think there's a place for everything. If it makes it a bit more fun, if it elevates it, if it engages your guests and encourages interaction, communicates your brand as well, obviously, that's a great thing. But it'd be a bit nuts if all of the drinks were served in a crazy way. Like a martini, for example, should only be served in a glass, surely.
Yeah, for sure. But then, there is, they can push it and push it and push it, but it's a non-ending conversation for sure. I'll translate this very quickly. Hablábamos un poco de esto, ¿no? De volver un poco a los básicos, de disfrutar una copa, lo que puede ser un vaso tan normal como puede ser esto, que no significa que no haya espacio para la creatividad. Yo le mencionaba el trabajo, la tremenda labor que hace José Miguel Piñero, que es un poco el hacedor de sueños de tanto bartender como chefs. Le ponía como ejemplo a Becky esta agave que hemos fabricado para una de las marcas que yo represento, que es muy llamativo, pero que también hay sitios en donde tal vez hay algunos sitios que han seleccionado su vía de trabajo para hacerlo todo en este tipo de servicios, en este tipo de elementos, y me parece bien, porque creo que hay un público para todo eso, pero creo que tampoco debería ser el moto o la motivación para que todo el mundo apunte hacia allá. Creo que no es necesario de que todo el mundo se vuelva loco con esto, sino que también podemos disfrutar de cosas que estén bien hechas mientras sean bien ejecutadas. Just very quickly in a couple of things. What do you think is going to happen with the whole? And I know that London is London, but if you know, I know that you have a broader perspective of things as well. You know, because you are connected to other people, other cities, you've been around. I'm curious about, you know, the cocktail deliveries, cocktails to go, the kind of the thing where, you know, you can now order a cocktail of, you know, pretty decent or really high quality, you know, and buy it either in your local supermarket or retail or even over the internet, and then you get it, you know, sent to your home from your local bar, because either you cannot go that day or you're not willing to go out and you want to have a night in, which is a more recurrent thing, I think, nowadays. Do you think that that is really here to stay? And try to think outside London, because London is always ahead of the curve in these kind of things. But do you think it's really going to stay and be a new way of people enjoying, you know, a decent Manhattan or a decent whatever, you know, at home?
Yeah, I think the fact that you can get a bottled cocktail, I mean, if I talk about London for a second, created by some of the best bars in the world, like Taylor and Elementary, they have a great bottled cocktail range, Mr. Lion, Three Sheets. And also I think it's a really great gifting opportunity because it's an experiential gift. Like just today, I sent my friend a birthday present, which is a bottle of Three Sheets French 75, and it all arrived with them today. So it's like delivery within just a couple of hours. I do think that it will be here to stay. I think you're gifting some, especially when you're buying it for someone else, you're gifting them something special and experiential, which I think is more valuable at the moment than a material gift, because people's mindsets have changed a bit. I do wonder if bars will continue to have the capacity to produce bottled cocktails in the way that they did when they were closed, now that they're reopening. And when they start making money in their bars again, are they going to want to focus as many resources on producing items for people to enjoy at home? I think that will be the test.
I'm going to be selfish here, and I'm going to take this as an opportunity to, but mostly because it's the thing that I know best. We did that at my bar in Perdita. We took the opportunity when we were not to start producing cocktails and then doing delivery and all that. We came up with the format that it becomes quite successful, and we attract quite a bit of PR in an organic way. We weren't paying for it, so we were all over the different news and publications and stuff like that. But now we are open, you know, so now we are an actual operating bar, you know, and even though that, yes, momentum is okay and we are making some money, we're still working with bare minimums, you know, bare minimum of staff, bare minimum of, you know, purchase, you know, bare minimum of everything. So we cannot just, you know, continue the same operation. But for us, and I think I've been one of the very few, we've been very consistent throughout everything, and we're still doing a decent business on the delivery side of things. So we actually had a conversation just about a week and a half ago with my partner, where we said, are we going to have to separate these into two different businesses, even though that they're under the same management? Are we going to have to hire somebody specifically for this? Are we going to need a different facility to have it as a production facility that is not our actual bar? Because we cannot be now expecting the bar and the same bartender to be doing the same things when we have an operating bar that we need to serve. And quickly, I'm gonna one of them here. This was the little format.
I saw they're like little olive oil tins, right?
Yeah, they're olive oil tins, you know, and they're great because it's got kind of an emotional connection to people here in Spain, because they even people in Spain, they go like, yeah, that's an olive oil tin, you know. So it's kind of, you know, old school, you know, your grandma, you know, sort of thing, and it's ideal, you know, because you put it in the fridge, you know, it kind of transmit temperature, you know, so it's really good, and then you open it, whatever. But beyond my thing that I did, you know, I would love to see that this is, especially in places like Spain, you know, where drinking at home is always been more like kind of I buy a bottle of booze and some mixers, or wine and beer, and that's it. If you're lucky, somebody, you know, buying a decent bottle of, you know, something to do shots, like tequila or something else, right? But cocktails at home here in Spain has not been a thing. And I think during this pandemic, you know, it had the momentum, and people were consuming more cocktails. And I will wish, and not only for my business, but for the general public, I will wish that, you know, people do it more. And there is a place for both things. People can still go to the bar and have a good time, you know, and hopefully businesses can still maintain a sustainable business. But people can also have the gift opportunity. What you said, I think, is spot on, you know, because sending this as a present is really great. You're not just sending a present that you go, oh, that's cute, I'm going to just put it there and it's going to stay there forever as a pretty picture. No, I'm actually going to open it and I'm going to have a good time with my partner, with my friend, with my cousin, with whoever it is, you know. So
yeah.
I'll translate. Le preguntaba a Becky un poco su opinión con respecto a este mundo de lo que es los cócteles, los deliveries y todo esto. Le preguntaba de que nos diera una opinión que no fuera solamente relacionada a lo que es el mundo de Londres, sino que un poco más allá. Ella dice de que le parece de que hay sitios que ahora te dan la oportunidad de consumir un cóctel embotellado o en diferentes formatos que son de altísima calidad y que son de tu bar, que tiene una sensación que te emociona de alguna manera. Más allá de eso, una cosa muy interesante que Becky comentaba es que esto es un gifting opportunity. Eso quiere decir una oportunidad de hacer un regalo que sea una experiencia. Haciéndolo de esta manera, no solamente algo que sea visual o que sea simplemente el típico regalo de lo pongo en la pared y allí se queda, sino que sea un regalo que además permita la interacción de alguna manera con el cliente. Mi respuesta a eso, desde el punto de vista de España, le contaba lo que desarrollamos nosotros con Perdita, es que es un business, es un negocio que demanda muchas veces de que tengas que separar los diferentes negocios. Y ahora tienes un bar que está operando, es difícil mantener también una operación de producción, con línea de producción, de cócteles embotellados o enlatados que se puedan hacer, y que por eso hay que separar uno de lo otro de alguna manera. Becky, I think we went over time. I hope that is okay with you. I'm not very good at managing time.
That's fine.
I wanted to ask you very briefly on a few more things. Maybe I'll cut one out. But important things to me. Your project that you are very much involved. You are one of the leading persons. This card. Tell us a little bit about. I absolutely love your magazine. I'm a pain in the ass. I know every time I'm going like I need one. I put it in my bar when I get it, and then I leave it literally at my bar. In the hope they only stole one copy so far, but I'm happy that they did. I'm just wishing good karma to that person. Hopefully they will steal it from them. But normally people actually have a little flick through, and if you're lucky, some people read it, and I like to leave some things at the bar, you know. So tell us a bit about this card. How did you guys came up with the idea? Did you saw a need? Is it really something non-profitable? You also very added when you are trying to be, I think, equality, gender equality. I think you have something going on there as well. Can you tell us a few things about this, please?
Yeah, so we started doing Discard in March last year. That's when our first issue came out. We've done 5 issues now and we're working on the 6th. So it's an independent zine that we publish every quarter, and it is self-funded. There's no branding, there's no adverts, there's no sponsored content. And we do that because we want our contributors to be able to write whatever they want with no external influence. So we don't report to anyone else. We can write about whatever we want. We can also do things by our own timeline, which makes things a bit easier. We do everything in-house, so the designing, the illustration, and we work with between 10 and 13 contributors per issue, and it is balanced. So we have worked with more female contributors to date than male, and we try and represent a range of different viewpoints, and we try and it's managed by people who work full-time in hospitality, and our contributors all work in hospitality, but our articles aren't about martinis or old fashions or your favorite bourbon or whatever. It's about experiences within hospitality, personal experiences from closing a bar, mentorship. I'm trying to think of other, yeah, so we try and be super personal, and we publish 250 copies per quarter, which are free. We give them away for free, and we send them around the world. And we did it because we felt like there was space for it. So much of what's out there in the media at the moment is influenced by money, who's paying to print things, and we didn't want to do that. We wanted to do something free from any external influence.
The reward in this is the personal reward. It's the personal satisfaction of I'm doing this because I feel like it, and you know, I think I'm putting my little grain of salt there, and that's it. If it's that, I fucking love it even more, because I think my personal point on this is that what the magazine tells you, even though that is just a tone that sometimes it's a little bit funny, sometimes it's a little bit ironic, you know, and pretty much like I'm pretty sure that you have other people, you know, and the base of the scene as well, but it's you and Gareth behind this.
Yeah, there is no one else. So obviously we work with our contributors, but
yeah.
I do the design, I do the illustration, Gareth does the editing. So he proofreads all the articles, but yeah, that's it. Other than the people who print Discard, it's just us and the contributors per issue. And the reward is having something physical. We were talking about that kind of value of experience. So we wouldn't do it if it was just digital, if it was just online. But I think producing something that effectively exists forever, that people can hold in their hands, I think that was really valuable during lockdown, receiving something in the mail, which is why we handwrite our envelopes and we hand number each copy, is because it's something personal. And also it's really rewarding to send them around the world. So like, you know, we send quite a few copies to India, to Asia, to mainland Europe, to the US, Australia, New Zealand. I don't think there's a continent that we haven't sent it to yet. And that's really rewarding. But also, I guess the main thing is being a platform for other people to tell the stories that matter to them, because we're not approaching it as a paid for publication. We're not saying, please, can you write about this? Write about how you designed your bar, or write about how you create your cocktail menus. We approach it as what's important to you, and can you tell us a story about it? What do you want to say?
And I can tell from experience that, you know, that it's very magical, you know, to receive, especially during the, you know, the heartbeat of pandemic, you know, to receive an envelope that is handwritten, to open it like a child again, you know, and you are opening the present, you know, and it's the scene inside, you know, and it's your publication inside. To me, it was really something very nice. And like I told you, know, I tried to extend the life of just me reading it and then putting it somewhere in my pile of a Sicilian things that I have somewhere, but I leave it at the bar, you know, and if people, you know, like I told you, know, so one person had stole one copy. Well, good for them, or not, but you know, at least it's got a, you know, it will have a longer life hopefully than, you know, just living in my shelf. You know?
Yeah.
I'll translate this quickly. Le preguntaba de una publicación que ella participa. You wouldn't happen to have a copy there just to show it like this, you do?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't. Sorry. Rebekkah y otro amigo que se llama Gareth Evans, ellos han decidido desde hace más de un año atrás, en marzo del año pasado, de establecer una publicación que se llama Discard the Scene, como short de magazine. Y la publicación, que es un tamaño relativamente pequeño, es una publicación completamente libre, completamente equilibrada, además, donde tienen una serie de invitados y participantes y gente que apoyan y que escriben de diferentes sujetos. Los sujetos siempre son muy personales, tienen una ecuanimidad donde normalmente es igual cantidad de hombres, igual cantidad de mujeres, aunque, aunque en las últimas publicaciones incluso han tenido más mujeres que hombres, que esto es un hito dentro de esta publicación. Lo bueno de esta publicación es que es una publicación que recibe 0 contribución de dinero de marcas, cuando en realidad hoy por hoy las publicaciones que existen, tanto sean online o físicas, están muy manejadas y muy monetizadas por muchas marcas en particular. Entonces, la publicación que ellos hacen, además tienen el esfuerzo de hacer 250 copias reales que luego mandan por sobre, por mail, no por email, por mail a 250 destinatarios en todos los continentes que hay, en muchos países, incluido India, parte de Europa, Europa del Este, Asia, Estados Unidos, Latinoamérica, etcétera. Recibir esto y poder darle vida a una extensión de vida, yo recibo esta copia normalmente también, es algo que es un gesto más grande que las personas que lo hacen, ¿no? Y ellos no cobran por esto, no hay ningún tipo de beneficio monetario, y de hecho yo les invito a que si les interesa tienen que seguir. Well, what is the way if somebody who is listening to us, and I got somebody already writing there saying, I would like to have a copy. So what's the process that they follow?
So,
they need to follow the Instagram page and be pendant.
Yeah, does this show back to front? It probably does. But if you go on the Instagram, which is at Discard the Zine, you'll find a link in the bio to our sign up. We are working on the next issue. Can't say when it will be out. We haven't decided yet. But we do it on a first come, first serve basis because we don't want it to be... We only print 250 copies and there's no hierarchy to it. So I think oftentimes things like this get sent to the most important people or the most high profile people, but we don't want it to be like that. We send it to whoever is the most interested, and they are the people who sign up first.
I try very hard. Normally I'm late, but I'm going to keep at it. And I'm going to let people know, how to do it, so maybe they can have a shot at it as well. Voy a comunicar luego, pondrá Hugo en su perfil, el perfil de Instagram. Remind me the Instagram thingy was?
It's Discard the Zine, at Discard the Zine.
It's at Discard, que discard como Discard de Zine. Zine es Z-I-N-E. Discard the Zine, y con esto tú puedes optar a que cuando ellos vayan a sacar las copias de esto, te manden una copia a ti. Becky me hacía mucho énfasis en decir de que esto no es para las 250 personas más relevantes, más famosas que hay en la industria, sino que es un poco el concepto de el primero que llega es el primero que se le sirve, que esto es un concepto muy de bar también, o sea, quien más interés enseña, más posibilidades tiene de poder optar a esto. Closing up a little bit, this is definitely not the brief thing, but maybe we can try to keep it brief. And this is kind of, a silly question. Heroes and zeros. Do you have any? Do you have within this industry? We are talking, that people that you said this person had helped me to move forward, and I don't want anything to do with this other person, or maybe not the person. Maybe it's an idea or a place or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to name anyone by name.
Yes.
But I would say at the moment, just heroes and zeros. I think heroes are the people who supported their team through lockdown. And obviously we had the furlough system here in the UK, and who made their team feel safe and ensured they had everything that they needed. And I think the zeros are the people who didn't do that. So either made their staff come in when they didn't feel safe, or didn't leave them jobs to come back to, or fired staff, or made them redundant and then rehired them. I don't know if you know about Wetherspoons and Tim Martin, and just it tends to be the big, weirdly,
yeah,
the richest companies who have the most money to spend, who have treated their staff the worst, and the independent companies who have supported them the most. So I think that's something that's going to change going forward, is that people are more intent on supporting independent companies, ethical companies, rather than these big multinational conglomerates that really don't give a shit about anyone.
Yeah, unfortunately, they have, these big companies, they live up to their own cliches. It is what is expected of them, and then they do everything to actually achieve it. Bloody hell. Le preguntaba a Becky si tiene héroes y antihéroes. Ella me dice que más que personas en específico, en particular, que no entrar en esto, y particularmente en la parte de antihéroes, no nombrar a nadie como algo específico. Ella dice que sus héroes han sido las gentes, compañía o bares que han dado soporte durante todo este tiempo tan confuso y tan convulso de la pandemia, apoyando a sus trabajadores. Más allá de las ayudas del Estado que se puedan recibir en cada país, como el sistema de furlough que hay, por ejemplo, en Inglaterra, el hecho de preocuparse y procurar de que sus empleados estén bien, el hecho de poder intentar por lo menos facilitar los básicos para que cubran sus necesidades y puedan regresar a su lugar y a su posición de trabajo cuando haya pasado o esté pasando todo esto. Para ella, esos son los héroes y obviamente de allí nace la antítesis, que es los antihéroes, que son aquellas compañías más grandes, con mucho más músculo, probablemente incluso más budget, más dinero, son las compañías que menos han procurado el bienestar de sus propios empleados. ¿Sabes? Multinacionales, corporaciones y una serie de otras cadenas, por ejemplo, de bares o de restaurantes, que lo que han hecho es tratar a sus empleados de una manera no solamente impersonal, sino que además deshumanizada cuando se refiere a este momento tan crítico que hemos pasado. Your current and future projects, I mean, in short, I know that besides this card, you are working for a company that is called Umbrella? No, what is it called?
Yeah, so I'm working on Discard, which obviously is a hobby, so it costs us money. It doesn't make us any money. It's a loss leader, as we would say. I'm also working as like a content and media consultant for some brands, which is fun, which I kind of do on evenings and weekends. And then I'm also working on a new project called the Cadogan Arms, which is all about pubs. So kind of going back to my roots, you know, in England, there are pubs closing at an extremely rapid rate.
Yeah.
So it's a project that seeks to renovate and restore pubs and return them to the community. It's a really, really exciting project, got the backing of some really great companies. And we are in the soft opening phase at the moment. So it's in Chelsea. So it's quite fancy.
So are you not working anymore with the people of the, what's it called, the Sun Tavern?
No, so I do still do some work with the brewery, so Umbrella London.
Oh, that, yeah.
On a freelance basis, but no, not with Sun Tavern. So that was like I changed my role during lockdown.
Right. Okay. Oh, well, okay. Cool. What was the name again of the project with the pubs? So I can get it.
It's called, that's okay, the Cadogan Arms.
The Cadogan Arms.
I'll write it here.
Yeah, that would be better. Thank you. Nada, le preguntaba un poco a Becky sus proyectos actuales y sus proyectos futuros. Ella me contaba de que además de Discard the Scene, la revista aquella, que Hugo de hecho ha puesto por allí ya el ad para que lo puedan seguir en Instagram. Es un proyecto que no le produce dinero, de hecho le quita dinero y le quita algo de tiempo, pero es un buen hobby a tener. Además de esto está haciendo algo de consultancy para marcas, que son proyectos que son individuales y que tienen un periodo de tiempo limitado, pero que le trae también una cierta recompensa, tanto monetaria como a nivel profesional. Y además está desarrollando un proyecto nuevo, que ahora lo escribirá dentro de esto, donde ella está recopilando muchos datos e información que tienen que ver con el mundo del pub. Dentro de esto están en la apertura de un nuevo pub en la zona de Chelsea, pero también además ella lo que me comenta es que existe ahora mismo una tremenda caída del mundo del pub en Inglaterra, donde cientos de pubs están cerrando constantemente, semana a semana, y ella está intentando recopilar esta información para poder mantenerlos hacia adelante. Great. And this will probably be the closing, it's a silly question again. If you have a drink, a snack, and a series to recommend for the day off, I know you're in England, but nowadays, you can see the series everywhere, so probably it's kind of a universal thing. If you have to tell me, like, George, you're having a day off tomorrow, I recommend you to have this drink, have a bite of this, and maybe watch this new series or all series or something.
A new series? What, on TV?
Yeah, a series. Well, it can be anything, a series, something to watch, something that you say it's worth spending, a little time watching this, or just to chill.
Okay. All right. So I don't know if I'm fully going to get this right, but if you're in London, so you're going out or you're staying in?
Staying in.
Staying in. I don't know, because it's so sunny. I'm like, have an Aperol spritz, or order something like the 3 Sheets French 75, something cold and sparkling. And I watch true crime documentaries. It's my thing. And if you haven't seen it, the best true crime documentary is called The Jinx, Jinx. It's on Amazon Prime. It's amazing. It's not a series, it's a one-off, it's a film from what I recall. And pizza, always.
Pizza is always the answer. I don't know what's the question.
Pizza's always the answer. Yeah.
For sure. I'll translate this very quickly. Le preguntaba a Becky como una broma un poco de qué me recomendaría como una bebida, algo para comer y para mirar, ¿no? Algo para ver en la tele, de rollo relax, en mi día libre. Ella me dice que hay una serie de documentales que se llaman True Crime, que están en Amazon Prime, de que funcionan más como si fueran no una serie, sino que un capítulo. Y que hay uno en particular que le gusta mucho que se llama Jinx. The Jinx, Jinx. Miradlo si os apetece. Beberos algo fresquito. Ella decía que un Spritz siempre viene bien, un French 75, que los chicos de 3 Sheets, si tenéis alguna vez la oportunidad de probarlo, hacen el mejor del mundo, sin lugar a dudas, y que para comer algo, bueno, no sé cuál es la pregunta, pero la respuesta siempre es pizza. Becky, thank you so much. I honestly enjoyed this, catching up with you, even if it was, during this little interview of sorts. It's always a good excuse to see how you're doing and to catch up. I hope to see you sometime soon, either in London or somewhere else. I'm pretty sure that should be the case. And I cannot thank you enough. I think you were very honest, and I appreciate that. And I share many of your views as well.
Thank you, George. Jorge, it's good to chat. I'm going to run. We're going for lunch now at a pizza place. So I will see you soon, probably in London, but hopefully somewhere else. But yes. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great to catch up.
Thank you. Sorry for the delay again. We ended up like almost half an hour extra, but that's my thing.
That's fine. Okay. Bye. Bye.
Boys. Bye. Bueno, chicos, nada, cerramos un poco la entrevista. Me he pasado media hora. Nunca prometí de que fuera a cumplir en el tiempo, pero es lo que tiene. Al final, Rebekkah es una persona que ha trabajado durante años en este mundo. Se ha vuelto relevante porque su voz se ha hecho una voz más prolífica. Al final, muchas de las plataformas que ella ha creado a nivel creativo, valga la redundancia, como los menús de Coctelería o como otras cosas, han tenido resonancia en lo que nosotros mismos hacemos hoy en día. Además de esto también, el tono que utiliza en su comunicación en general, llámese redes sociales, newsletter o lo que sea, es algo que muchas marcas, muchos bares y muchas entidades están utilizando hoy en día. Siempre interesante conocer la opinión de alguien que vive la hospitalidad de una manera tan en primera persona. Yo os agradezco por el tiempo y sí, Hugo, compartiré esto. No sé cómo se hace, pero bueno, intentaré no cagarla. ¡Adiós!